I wanted to tell you a story. Story that takes place in 1898 in the Tsavo region of Africa. A story about two man-eaters, known as the man-eaters of Tsavo, or as I knew them, the Ghost and the Darkness.
A pair of maneless lions who hunted the workers of the Kenya-Uganda Railway. This all took place between March and December of 1898. These were probably two of the most cunning, ruthless, brutal hunters to have ever graced the plains of Africa.
To ever
The
the plains of Africa. Like I'd say
inherently,
more often than not, I err on the side that, animals have no concept of good and evil, right? They don't have morality, except for dolphins. Dolphins are just
if,
evil. But
or dogs, and well, I'm not counting chihuahuas.
but these lions were evil.
Pure.
Like they like this was not natural behavior. This wasn't life or death for them. This wasn't they were eating for sustenance. This was straight up
They were,
they were
yeah,
they were killing. Like that
they
was
were
the
hunting
whole
for
point of
sport.
what they were doing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to tell you this story, one, because history is violent. I think we need to remember that. But two, I want you to share in my nightmare. So yeah, 1898, Tsavo region of Africa. Britain
So
doing as
these,
Britain does. They
right.
were, wanting to sun not to set on their empire. So they were having a bunch of, Indian workers that they had, bowed in, and some African workers building a railway that was going to connect Africa, something that was thought, it was a joke. It wasn't possible. No one thought it was possible, at least. But they were going to connect Africa, right? And outside of all of the, supply issues and manpower and everything else, they came upon a entirely new problem, which was two man eaters, two maneless male lions, which, if you know anything about lions, males do not hunt together. And these were a stain upon that project for 9 months, killing hundreds of men. And the part that's scary is that they didn't act like normal lions. Like their behavior was so, like, outside of the man eater part, like this was sport for them. There were accounts from, what was it, Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson. He's the guy that ended up, killing both the lions. He was actually dispatched from Britain to help oversee the project when he, inherited this problem. But these lions would roar outside of the camps before going in to take someone away. Like, yes, sometimes they would stalk and be stealthy, and obviously you wouldn't see or hear them because they're built for that. But sometimes they would announce their presence. They would roar and like they would like psychological warfare on these dudes outside the camp before they snuck in, wherever security was weakest, wherever a rifle wasn't, to go in and literally just to drag full grown men away, never to be seen again, or to be seen, a mile off, just tore to shreds.
Yeah. So these lions at the shoulder were 4 feet tall.
I think like
Think
three
about that.
foot 11 inch at the shoulder, not the head, the shoulder.
The shoulder.
Like,
So when they when they raised their head up, the average African was probably looking those lions in the nose.
Yeah. It's depending on the neck length. I mean, he'd be looking you in the eye, a freaking lion. And
Terrifying.
nose to tail, I think it was somewhere like 9 foot,
9
both
foot 8 inches was the first one.
weighing up to like 400 pounds. Like,
Jesus.
oh, well, I mean, there were stories like a lion would go into like drop through the ceiling, like the ceiling vent in a tent, jump in, grab a guy by the thigh, and just rip him out of the tent and just pull him away. Like literally, so like heel marks, just elbow marks, literally fingernails left in the dirt, trying to hold on as it just tore away. Like people would be holding on, 3, 4 guys would be trying to keep him there, and they just pulled him away. And sometimes they didn't even bother like taking them away to eat them. They would be like 30 yards away, 50 yards away, and they would just listen to this dude get eaten alive. And there were some days and days or like a month where they wouldn't be attacked, but there were other reports of like other villages or like other nearby people being attacked during that time. Like, so from the reports, from Patterson's reports, and he only kept track of the Indians that they had brought to the work site. He didn't keep track of any of the Africans, but from what he kept track of his records, 135 people unaccounted for, which is hard to tell because some they were at will employees, so like some of them would leave or whatever without saying anything. But you have to think that's just the Indians that were there. 8,000 workers were at this site, and they didn't eat every single one. So some of them they would only eat a little bit. Some of them they would just kill and leave. Like, just the insanity of it all. Not to mention, like I said, all the unconfirmed reports of the other villages. And you have to think the numbers that they're coming up with, hundreds of people. Like, absolutely crazy. So when Patterson got there, when it turned out like, okay, this is gonna be a problem, he started having them make Burmas, which are essentially just walls made out of like briar bush, like thorn bushes, to try to deter the lions. They'd have these huge bonfires to try to deter the lions. The lions would drag men over the bramble bushes. There was an account of them dragging a guy through the bramble bush. Just absolutely insane. You have to think, most of these guys didn't have rifles, right? There are only a few of them that had rifles because, that wasn't their job. Their job was to make a freaking railroad or to make a bridge for the railroad, right? And these massive freaking cats, dude. Like, imagine a lion looking you in the eye. Like, now imagine that, two of you, right? So 400 pounds running at 30 miles an hour, like, just dragging you for a mile before it's like, okay, this is a good spot to freaking eat you. But, oh, man.
Did you read what it actually took to kill these things?
So the first one, not that much. The second one,
Oh my god, the second one?
what?
Yeah. So, guys,
You
the
haven't pulled
first
up?
one yeah. So the
Okay.
first one, Patterson shot it with a high caliber rifle in one of its hind legs, but it still escaped. And then he shot it during the day, and then it later returned at night and started stalking Patterson as
Yeah.
Patterson was hunting it. Patterson ended up shooting it through the shoulder and into its heart with an even more powerful rifle, and he ended up finding it dead the next morning, not very far from the platform where he was hunting from.
Yeah, so literally so he didn't see it for most of the night. Like it took until
Mhm.
almost right up until he shot it for him to like get a good beat on it. But he said, like, he wrote in the morning, there were just trails getting closer and
Oh my
closer
god.
and closer to his hide site. Yeah, so there was so think about it, 9 months, right? Patterson's been trying to get these things for 9 months. Every night almost. You hear someone screaming getting killed. Like every single, like imagine that every single night, and you're trying to hunt this thing, and everywhere that you are, the thing isn't. But at one point, they made a trap, right? So they took two carts that they were loading supplies in. So he had one cart, and then he fashioned another one on top of it to make a coffin, essentially, right? With a little peephole. Him and another guy had rifles beat on these goats that they had tied like 10 or 15 yards away. And they said that the sound inside, obviously everything was echoing, where it's like you heard a scratch or like a beetle and it just amplified, and like they were getting pissy and everything. And until they saw a shadow, and it's like, oh, it's nothing. And it's like, no, that wasn't there before. And ended up taking shots at it. He knew that he missed because he didn't, in his report, he said that he didn't hear it hit flesh. But I don't know if he hit that time, but I do remember that same time they were too scared to go out, obviously. But there were paw prints all the way up to the cart, and one of the goats was missing.
Nope.
Not a sound. Goat was gone.
Nope.
Like, and the second one, go ahead. And I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure the rifle he used was a 30-30, and he also had shotgun with slugs.
Jesus.
But
okay, so the second one,
this one's my favorite because just screw you,
This second one was shot 9 times. The first time it shot was from the scaffolding that Patterson had built near where the goat had been killed by the lion during that fateful, I guess, flawed cart intervention. Um, 2 shots were from another rifle, which hit the lion 11 days later as it was stalking Patterson and trying to flee. So then they found it the next day. Patterson shot it 3 more times with the same rifle, crippling it, and then shot it 3 more times with another rifle, twice in the chest and once in the head. And that headshot was what killed it. And
in
he
his
claimed
report, I'll go for it.
it died gnawing on a fallen tree branch, still trying to get to him.
Yeah.
That
So
is insane.
So those shots broke a hind leg, broke a front leg, 2 broken legs, still hunting them. And then gnawing on a tree branch trying to get to them.
These are not normal lines.
No. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it was, and there have been so many like theories because one of them had a tooth infection, which isn't, atypical for lions, but people think that's
No.
why they turned to hunting people. They've done tests on the bones and like seen, oh well, such and such percentage of meat eaters and such of herbivores and everything. They're trying to dictate off of that, what their diet was like and how many people they actually killed, but they didn't eat the entire person. You know what I mean? Like this was for sport. They ate a little bit, but this wasn't like they were doing this to hunt. And they had plenty of herbivores in their system. They were perfectly capable of hunting larger game. But literally, I think he described it as like a rare moment of courage in the workers. One of them was getting dragged away, and they all came out, like all the workers in the vicinity came out and were like running at it with like stones and sticks and everything, and like that foiled its the hunt, and that dude ended up being able to live. But like these things, you have to think of just the size of these things, and like they would just sneak into tents or jump into tents and pull people away. Like it's not normal behavior. Like you have to think like these kind of animals, like they stay away from people. Like, and this isn't like a small band of like a platoon, like 50 people. 8,000 people. And it didn't matter where. It didn't matter if it was on the outside of the camp, on the inside, in the med bay. Like, did not matter. And
Wherever they
there were
found a
times,
weakness.
yeah. And I mean, and these were wicked smart lions. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like you said, it's not natural. They're not normal. Because at one point, they had moved the med bay, and Patterson and another guy set up in the old med bay and spread out blood and like animal carcasses and everything inside the med bay, the old one, to try to lay in for a trap. That same night, they attacked the new med bay.
Oh my god.
Like, oh, dude. Yeah.
One thing
Something
to
that
keep
you
in mind
can't
too.
hear or see, and
Yeah.
just the undeniable force, and just rip you away. And you didn't know if it was you or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind too was these lions started when they started attacking, they were only doing it one at a time. Only one of them would go into the camp. But but eventually they started both going in, and each of them would grab a victim and drag it away. So that's how the death toll got so high so fast.
Yeah.
For
From
9
from
months.
from what's recorded. From what's recorded. Because they
Yeah.
went to other villages. Like, and
Mhm.
who's to say that the guys just left camp or disappeared? You know what I mean? We don't know. Like, that's the crazy part. They never found their den. Like, that's the craziest thing. And to think, so 2 lions, granted, man eaters, huge lions, atypical, right? But completely put a halt for thousands of men.
Yeah.
Like, just terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. It took 8 men to carry off the first lion when they found it.
Yeah. And actually, their skins and their skulls are currently on display in Chicago at the Field Museum of Natural History. If you
Yeah,
guys want to go see them.
crazy. So the pelts, they were not taken care of well. So
No, Patterson
they
used
were
them as rugs.
dehydrated, they shrank, like it was, yeah. So they're so much smaller than they actually were in life. But the skulls, of course, they kept. And yeah. Mm.
Oh, dude, yeah, there's pictures of them. Like, look how friggin' big those are.
And that's with the shrunken skins.
No,
Are you talking about the
that's
skulls?
no. Like, there's actual
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. What, after they killed them? Yeah, no, massive, massive
Yeah,
creatures.
they're freaking huge. If
The
this
one
one
where
was
they have
standing
the
up, yeah,
head.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
like held up by freaking
yeah, by sticks. Yeah, they have one where
yeah.
it's laying down, obviously because it's dead, but the head is held up by sticks, and the head just takes up the guy's torso essentially. Like, it's just,
Look at the size of his front paws compared to
yeah,
Patterson's head. They're as big as his
yeah,
freaking head.
yeah,
That is obscene. And if you
yeah.
guys want to be absolutely terrified, go watch the Ghost in the Darkness, starring Val Kilmer. It's I watched this when I was young, and holy crap, it scared the ever loving piss out of me. I
You
could
know what got
not,
you know what got me
could
super
not.
bad?
Hmm.
The Edge. That screwed me up for a long time.
The Edge. I wonder if I saw that.
You saw that. There's no way you didn't.
Probably did.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, no, like you said, like, so literally the lion could probably fit his entire, like, if it opened it up, he could probably like dive into the freaking lion's mouth. Like,
Yeah.
it is it
Oh,
the body doesn't make sense for this thing. It's stupid.
I don't actually think I've seen this movie.
Really? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
man.
It's
That
it's
was like,
basically a modern day take of The Revenant, right? The story of
No,
the
that's an
Revenant.
old movie
Oh, I know.
and
I,
completely
I
different.
I know this movie's old, but it's the
Yeah,
same kind of principle. Like
ish.
yeah, three
So the
guys.
movie, the old rich dude, right, takes a couple of buddies out over. I don't remember where they are. I think they're in Alaska. They go on a flight,
Alaska,
right? But plane crashes. When the plane crashes, they start getting hunted by a bear, by a man eater,
Kodiak,
and
huge
it's
bear.
them just trying to survive. Like that's the story, but terrifying. It's a freaking nightmare fuel. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Kodiaks are
but
so big.
they are. But we tell you the story. What? What do you do?
They can be 10 feet tall when standing on their back legs, 5 feet when on all fours, and are roughly 500 pounds heavier than the average grizzly bear.
Yeah, dude.
1,400 pounds. Holy crap.
Dude, look up the largest Kodiak bear. So there's a picture online somewhere. This dude got the world record Kodiak bear, killed it, strung it up on the side of his garage, went to the roof.
Wow.
It's a big ol' nope for me.
Yeah. I mean, the largest one in captivity was in the Dakota Zoo in North Dakota. Weighed uh about 2,400 pounds.
Yep.
That is crazy.
Because screw you. That's why.
That's as big as a
Anyways,
car.
we got off topic.
Yeah, sorry.
It's
Back to the Tsavo man.
talking about bears. So the reason why we tell the story, the man-eaters of Tsavo, the Tsavo lions, were two lions among thousands
Mhm.
of men. They attacked where the defenses were weak. They attacked
They
where they
attacked
weren't
when they weren't.
expected.
They never fought the entire force head on. Like they took one man at a time up until both of them were going in at the same time. Then they were taking two. But sometimes they roared just to announce that they were there. Psychological warfare. It's just insane. And most
Well,
of the time, you wouldn't see or hear them before they attacked.
yeah,
All of a
those
sudden, you just
massive
heard somebody
400,
screaming.
I was going to say 400 pounds, like that 9 foot long lion, and you wouldn't hear or see a thing.
Yeah. So I know Patterson speculated about what 135 just
135, what he could confirm, like
right.
with, like in his writings, like in the logs that they had. But he estimated more.
Yeah. Like modern day, people were kind of guessing at it. The so-called experts are now saying that like the combined death toll between the two, probably about 72.
But that's based off
But
of what they ate. And
yeah,
that's my main ick with that, is because you're assuming with that study that they ate the entire person, which they did not.
they
They
didn't.
didn't eat
Most of
every
the time they
single
didn't.
person.
Mhm.
So, and like I said, that's just from stuff that we can confirm, not from, the other villages. Who know? And
Right.
this was just 9 months of this job, of this project. Who knows how long they've been doing this,
Right.
you know? But yeah, two lions brought the work of thousands to a halt for 9 months before they were eventually killed. We're using the story as an allegory. You should use this story as an allegory. Because today, we aren't just talking about the Lions of Tsavo, the Man-Eaters of Tsavo, the Ghosts in the Darkness. Today, we're talking about Guerrillas. And real quick, guys, let's take a little break to hear a word from our sponsors.
This podcast is sponsored by Blackbeard Firestarter. Blackbeard Firestarter has been our first choice in Firestarter since they introduced their Firestarter rope years ago.
Blackbeard offers their fire starters, their fire plugs, arc lighters, ferro rods, stormproof matches, everything you need to get a fire started.
Their products are made right here in the US, wind and waterproof, have an insane burn time. They're basically dummy proof.
And to help you out, Blackbeard let us cherry pick from their store everything that we want, everything that we thought you needed to get a fire started, and we call it our Hard Time Strong Men Fire Kit. On top of that, they're also offering a 15% discount on anything in their store when you enter code STRONGMEN at checkout.
We can't recommend Blackbeard enough. They stand behind their products, and so do we.
Be sure to check them out at blackbeardfire.com and on Instagram at blackbeardfire. And as always, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight. And now a word from our newest sponsor, Granite Rifle Group. Granite Rifle Group is a precision rifle company owned and operated by a USMC veteran. You've probably heard him on our show.
Granite offers turnkey rifle solutions built around your field use with plug and play upgrades available to tailor your rifle for your specific needs. GRG offers simple rifle kits or complete custom builds available to suit every need, from the weekend target shooter or hunter to the long range precision rifleman.
Granite Rifle Group is all about putting high quality precision rifles into the hands of Americans to extend the reach of the American rifleman. And when you use the code STRONGMEN at checkout, you'll get 6.9% off your order. Nice.
Nice. Check them out at graniteriflegroup.com or find them on Instagram at granite_rifle_group_LLC. And as always, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight. Yes. Yeah. And these lines were the guerrilla warfare experts of their time. Like no other example that I can think of in the animal kingdom would suffice to be called guerrilla warfare than these two Gary mother effers.
I mean, they were called, so the locals called them demons.
Mm-hmm.
So what these lines were able to accomplish for so long, what they did, how they acted, that should be the kind of violence of action, the kind of decisive boldness, right? So you're talking about strength, speed, boldness, being everywhere and nowhere, being decisive, then being gone. This is what we've been talking about, what we've been pushing for, right?
Right.
I think it was episode 5. We introduced the idea of the guerrilla fighter, and we said that we would have more talk about that. And then we got into teaching, and
Yeah.
we taught for 2 years, and it's been, we've gone pulled along on a bunch of different rabbit trails, and we've got lost in lost in our curriculums, but we want to reaffirm with you and refocus your mindset of why we're doing all of this, because you are the gorilla. At least you should be. What we talk about with the militiamen, the Minutemen, preparedness, being able and willing to do violence for yourself, your family, your community. That's what we're talking about. Being able to be self-sufficient, to be autonomous, decentralized, and expert in your craft, in the fight, in choosing your fight. That's what we've been pushing for, and that is our focus. So take everything that we've done and look at it in that lens, because that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Like the managers of Tsavo, we really need to become beasts among men. Like when it comes to the fight, when it comes to doing what needs to be done, you need to be strong. You got to be fast. You have to be bold. You have to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You have to strike decisively and then just be gone. And above all else, when it comes to taking action, you need to not care. You need to not care about who's on the other end because you have a job to do. And that job is important. You need to do what needs to be done and get out of there. And don't let things stay on your consciousness.
Speed, surprise, violence of action. And we've,
It was
you
hammered
know,
into our brain.
well, and the thing is, we have been adamant from the beginning. The reason why we're teaching this is to take care of people, so that you can take care of people, right? You need to take care of yourself, your family, your communities. Part of that is being able to, you know, do these tasks and do them
Like,
well.
yeah,
Now, our experience, professionally in the Army does not lend to this. There are things that we've gleaned and things that we've, been able to teach, but the mindset of having that supply line, the infinite amount of manpower, the 50, 100, 200, 500 people, at your disposal is not a thing.
no.
That is not realistic. That is not what we're dealing with now. That's not what you are dealing with now. That's not what you should be preparing for. Why did we teach hunter killer teams? Why are we teaching, obviously these warrior tasks and drills, survival, fieldcraft, medical, all this stuff? Because you're gonna have to wear a lot of hats. And you're not going to have those supply lines or the seemingly infinite amount of people. Something that you're going to have to do, at a man-to-man level. You are not going to be setting up a support by fire element with a saw or a 240. Probably. Be really cool if you were. But that's not the fight that you're fighting. Think about Reaper 1-1, okay? Or Reaper Consultation. He's now on Instagram. He got, zucked a few times. But,
Like the Zuck, yeah.
think about, I think he called it 3-2-3s, where you have 3 teams of 2. Triangulated through, whatever AO you're at. And you're taking disciplined, good shots at intervals so that as someone's shooting, you're communicating, moving, and you can lock down a town that way, a hillside that way, whatever you need to do with a minimal amount of effort. These are things that you need to be, thinking of. The fight isn't like how we had in the Army. We're not rolling, squads and platoons deep. You have to be thinking small teams. And you have to think that you're going to take your decisive shot or shots, and then you are leaving. That's, if you haven't read The War of the Flea, read The War of the Flea. Okay. Like, that is your fight. That is you ticking away at the beast for, like, the lines of Tsavo, months and months and months. And that's how you're going to get that lasting success.
One thing also to remember is our time in the Army, we were limited by ROEs and the Geneva suggestions. I mean, conventions. As a civilian, you're not. You have no ROEs. You do not have to follow the Geneva suggestions at all. So, what may be considered a war crime? Hey, man, you're a civilian. You do what needs to be done. Just gonna say that.
Except for mixing ammonia and bleach. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't mix ammonia and bleach.
Unless you're mixing it and then getting out of there. Just saying.
Just gonna see how far we can push us.
Oh yeah, we're
No,
speedrunning getting
but-
canceled.
Hell yeah. No, but I'm just thinking back to the last 2 years, right? And we've done a lot of good, but I feel like we could have done better in framing this, right?
Right.
Because we started off on the right foot. We started off in the right area, but then we got dig into the content and trying to make our 1% increases every episode, every week, every month, etc. But this is the end game. This is the whole point for the podcast is training up this better class of man, right? Getting you guys the best that we can possibly get you so that you can do the same thing with your with your communities. But the way that you need to operate in order to survive is this model, because you are not rolling in with an infinite budget and a lot of people. You just aren't. So you have to be smarter. You have to be smarter. But rolling in, what do you want to touch on?
So I mean, we've got a lot of areas that we've been trying to teach. Mainly, especially with guerrilla warfare, mainly we're focused on the skills of your warrior tasks and drills, survival, fieldcraft, hunter killer teams, medical care, sustainment, homesteading, community. It's like this is all encompassing. This is why we're teaching these skills. I know we kind of like didn't really like harken back to why, but hey, now we are. But I think some of the big ones that we really need to hit on and like really emphasize are the warrior tasks, the battle drills, and the four pillars of survival because these will, I'm not even kidding you, these will save your lives.
I'd say fieldcraft as well.
Oh yeah, fieldcraft for sure. Medical care is pretty well up there too.
It all ties in, right? I can't pick a
It does.
favor. I can't pick something that's more
I
important than the others because you're like I said, you're going to have to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah,
And the whole, I keep saying the whole point of the podcast. We wear a lot of hats here too, guys. Um, but if you've been with us long enough, you know that we try to really focus on thinking of things holistically and tying everything together because you should be able
right.
to do all of this stuff, right? And nothing is wasted. There's reason for all of it, but you have to think guerrilla warfare. This is something where you may be called upon. You may have something that you have to do, and you have to pick up and go. But then you're not going to be sticking around.
No.
You
I
go,
know.
you do the thing, and then you're gone. And you're going to need to, like you said, know your warrior task drills, shoot, move, communicate. You have to know your battle drills, your react to contact, your squad attack, break contact, reacting ambush, etc., right? By heart, no one's going to be holding your hand in this. Not to mention your fieldcraft living and operating in the field. Okay, so your concealment, your actual movement techniques, all this stuff, being able to live out of a ruck. Okay, if you get banged up, someone else gets banged up, medical care, working out your own supply lines, dealing with what you have, all of it for the end goal, right? This is a means to an end. But I want you to be self-sufficient and autonomous. I want you to be able to do all this stuff anyways. Like we
Right.
said during our caches episode, which you guys look at after this for a rainy day.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes that rain is metal. Just saying.
Heavy. With all that being said, guys, you know what a guerrilla is. We have endless examples of that in history, in Vietnam, in Ireland, in Russia, in in Chechnya.
Chechnya. I think you mentioned World War II. I mean, even the Native
Hell,
Americans.
let's just say hell in the South or the Native Americans, right? We can give you as many examples as you want. You know what a guerrilla is, but what we've been trying to do here, what we're trying to teach is you. You are the guerrilla, or at least you should be, right? Think of the Minutemen. Think of the men, everyday guys, brothers, fathers, dads, who were ready and willing and able to take up the call, who had decent training in warrior tasks, in drills, in medical care, and all these things. We are trying to exemplify that, trying to make that the best it can be. Because when it's all said and done, history will call you rebels, history will call you guerrillas, but you're men with responsibilities to take care of yourself and your family and your communities. And our job is to equip that. And I want you to think of what we're teaching in that lens, in that we are equipping you for a rainy day, because it will not always be good times. In fact, everyone sees the decline now, right? But in order to uphold what I believe to be your responsibility, you need to know how to do all of this stuff. And this isn't some far off thing. It's something that's at your doorstep. And thinking of these skill sets, think hard critically at yourself with those eyes and that lens. I want you to think of that as we move forward. As we talk about our different medical crash courses, as we go into more homesteading, as we go into more moral obligations, into the finer craft of shooting, into different movement techniques, into communication, setting up your SOPs, getting into different kit and equipment, different skill sets like lockpicking or entry, as we take a look back at history, or into the different jobs that you may have to fulfill. Think of all this as something that is not just an abstract idea, as something that you will have to pick up. Use this. Use this time. Use this information.
If you want a reading list, let us know. We're going to be compiling pretty good reading list on guerrilla warfare. So hit us up. It's not going to be comprehensive just yet, but we'll give you a few books to read.
And part of the story that we talked about, the Ghost in the Darkness, the man-eaters of Tsavo, we talked about how scary it must have been, but imagine that you're a day laborer. After a long, hard day, you're sweaty, you're hot, you just got some water, you're laying down in your tent, and something rouses you from your sleep. And you don't see anything, but you feel something in your tent, an extra presence, not right by you, but across the way. And then you hear the scream and the dragging and the clawing, and some guy you just met gets ripped out of your tent, jumped over Burma and into nothingness. There and gone, almost without a trace. That's the kind of fear that you need to be able to bring to bear. Because few must stand against many. And the man-eaters of Tsavo didn't do it for the right reasons. But you sure know that they had the right effect. Till next time, guys, we're the Hard Time Strongman podcast, cheering up a bear class of man. Stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.